Typhon, the fury of earth and Tartarus. In the depths of the earth, where shadows intertwine and ancient secrets lie hidden, a creature of unparalleled magnitude and ferocity was born. His name was Typhon, and his very origin was a harbinger of the destruction he would unleash upon the world. Son of Gaia, the Earth Mother, and Tartarus, the primordial abyss, Typhon was a force of nature in its rawest and most ruthless form. His appearance was as grotesque as it was imposing, a colossal giant with 100 serpent heads that rose towards the sky, spewing fire and venom with every breath. His eyes, gleaming like embers, radiated an ancestral malice, and his body, covered in scales and serpents, was a testament to his power. From his birth, Typhon was a threat to the cosmic order. His power was such that even the gods of Olympus trembled before his presence. His fury was irrepressible, and his desire to destroy everything that stood in his way was insatiable. When the gods, led by Zeus, overthrew the Titans and established their dominion over the universe, Typhon rose as the last bastion of the ancient era. His hatred towards the Olympians was deep, and his desire for revenge was a flame that burned in his heart. With unprecedented force, Typhon challenged the gods in a battle that shook the foundations of the world. Mountains crumbled, the seas churned, and the sky darkened before the monster's fury. The gods, though powerful, were overwhelmed by Typhon's strength. At a critical moment in the battle, Typhon managed to tear away Zeus' tendons, leaving him defenseless and at the mercy of his wrath. The king of the gods, the most powerful of all, had been defeated. Typhon's victory seemed imminent. But fate had other plans. Hermes, the cunning messenger of the gods, managed to recover Zeus' tendons and return them to him, thus restoring his strength and power. Zeus, filled with renewed fury, faced Typhon once more, and this time the battle was even more fierce. Finally, after a titanic struggle that lasted for days, Zeus managed to subdue Typhon. With a deafening thunderbolt, the king of the gods hurled a lightning bolt that struck down the monster, and with divine force, he imprisoned him in the depths of Tartarus, the darkest and deepest abyss of the universe. There, chained and guarded by the Cinemanes, giants with 100 arms, Typhon remains to this day, a prisoner of his own fury and power. His story is a reminder of the chaos that can arise when brute force is combined with malice and hatred. Despite his defeat, Typhon's legend endures in Greek mythology as a symbol of the power of nature and the struggle between order and chaos. His figure, though terrifying, continues to be an object of fascination and study, reminding us that even the most powerful gods can be challenged by forces beyond their comprehension. Echidna, the mother of many famous monsters, was half woman and half serpent. She lived in a dark cave and fed on travelers who ventured too close. She was the companion of Typhon, and together they spawned many of the most terrifying creatures of Greek mythology. In Greek mythology, Echidna is a fascinating and terrifying character. She is described as a creature with the upper body of a beautiful woman and the lower body of a serpent, making her a hybrid and monstrous being. Her dwelling was a dark and deep cave, where she lurked for unsuspecting travelers passing nearby. Her diet consisted of human flesh, which made her a constant danger to those who ventured into her territory. Echidna is known for being the mother of numerous monstrous creatures in Greek mythology. Alongside her companion Typhon, a winged giant with a dragon's head, she gave birth to beings as terrifying as Cerberus and the Hydra of Lerna. Cerberus was the three-headed dog that guarded the entrance to the underworld. The Hydra of Lerna was an aquatic serpent with multiple heads that regenerated when cut off. Chimera was a creature with the head of a lion, the body of a goat, and the tail of a serpent that breathed fire. Sphinx was a being with the head of a woman and the body of a lion who posed riddles to travelers. The Nemean lion was a giant lion with an invulnerable hide that terrorized the region of Nemea. The eagle of Prometheus was the eagle that tortured Prometheus, eternally gnawing at his liver. The figure of Echidna represents darkness, danger, and the unknown. Her hybrid nature and her role as the mother of monsters make her a symbol of chaos and threat. Despite her malevolent nature, Echidna is an important character in Greek mythology, and her legacy endures through her monstrous offspring. Cerberus, also known as Cancerbero, is a monster from Greek mythology, son of Echidna and Typhon, whose main mission was to guard the gates of the underworld, preventing the living from entering and the dead from leaving. Characteristics. The description of Cerberus has varied throughout history and according to the different versions of the myth. The most common is that of a gigantic dog with 3 heads, although some versions attribute up to 50 or 100. It is also said that he had a snake instead of a tail, and that snake heads sprouted from his body. His 3 heads, according to some sources, had their own names: Beltesta, left head; Tritesta, central head; and Dratesta, right head. It is said that his eyes glowed like fire, and that his bark was so powerful that it made the earth tremble. Myths and legends. Cerberus is a recurring character in Greek mythology, appearing in various stories and legends. The 12 Labors of Heracles. The last of the 12 Labors of Heracles consisted of capturing Cerberus and bringing him before King Eurystheus. To achieve this, Heracles had to fight against the monster and finally subdued him using his strength and skill. Orpheus and Eurydice. Orpheus, the famous musician, used his lyre to put Cerberus to sleep and be able to enter the underworld in search of his beloved Eurydice. Virgil's Aeneid. In the Aeneid, Aeneas faces Cerberus to be able to enter the underworld and speak with his father Anchises. The Cumaean Sibyl, who accompanies Aeneas, throws Cerberus a drugged cake to put him to sleep and allow them passage. Meaning. Cerberus is a symbol of death in the underworld. His ferocity and his mission to guard the entrance to the realm of the dead make him a fearsome and respected figure. At the same time, his presence in Greek mythology tells us about the conception that the ancient Greeks had about life, death, and the afterlife. In popular culture, the image of Cerberus has transcended Greek mythology and has reached our days, appearing in various works of popular culture, such as books, movies, video games, and television series. His figure continues to be used as a symbol of danger, mystery, and terror, but also as a fantastic and exotic element. Gorgons. The Gorgons were 3 monstrous sisters with snakes for hair and a gaze that turned people to stone. Medusa was the most famous of them, but her sisters Stheno and Euryale were also terrifying. Perseus, the hero, managed to behead Medusa using his shield as a mirror. Development. In Greek mythology, the Gorgons are terrifying and fascinating creatures. They were originally 3 beautiful priestesses of Athena, but the goddess punished them by transforming them into monsters for profaning her temple. Characteristics of the Gorgons. They had snakes instead of hair, sharp fangs, bronze claws, and golden wings that allowed them to fly. Their gaze had the power to turn any living being to stone. Immortality. Stheno and Euryale were immortal, while Medusa was mortal. Medusa. Perseus and Medusa. The myth of Perseus and Medusa is one of the most famous in Greek mythology. Perseus, a brave hero, was tasked with killing Medusa. To achieve this, He used Athena's shield as a mirror to avoid her direct gaze, and thus not be turned to stone. He managed to behead Medusa, and from her neck sprang the winged horse Pegasus. Symbolism. The Gorgons represent danger, transformation, and feminine power. Their petrifying gaze symbolizes fear and rigidity, while their ability to fly represents freedom and strength. Legacy. The image of Medusa has endured through the centuries in art and popular culture. Her head, often depicted with snakes and a look of terror, has become a symbol of protection and also of danger. Lernaean Hydra. The Lernaean Hydra was a water serpent with multiple heads that regenerated when cut off. Each time one of its heads was severed, two new ones would grow in its place, making it virtually invincible. Its breath was poisonous and could kill any living being. Hercules had to face it in one of his 12 labors. With the help of his nephew Iolaus, he managed to burn the Hydra's necks to prevent the heads from regrowing. In Greek mythology, the Lernaean Hydra is a monstrous creature, and it was the second of the 12 labors imposed on Hercules by King Eurystheus. Hercules had to kill the Hydra, but the task was extremely difficult due to its regenerative ability. Hercules and Iolaus' strategy. Hercules confronted the Hydra in the swamp of Lerna. For every head he cut off, two new ones appeared. Desperate, Hercules called for help from his nephew Iolaus. Iolaus had a brilliant idea. While Hercules cut off the heads, he burned the necks with a torch, thus preventing them from regrowing. Thanks to Iolaus' strategy, Hercules finally managed to defeat the Lernaean Hydra. After cutting off the last head, he buried it and covered it with a heavy rock. Hercules dipped his arrows in the Hydra's poisonous blood, which served him for future labors. Symbolism. The Lernaean Hydra symbolizes the challenges and obstacles we must face in life. Its regenerative ability represents persistence and the need to find creative solutions to overcome difficulties. The story of the Lernaean Hydra and its defeat by Hercules has become a symbol of strength, ingenuity, and perseverance. Its image has appeared in numerous works of art and literature throughout history. Minotaur. The Minotaur was a monster with the body of a man and the head of a bull who lived in the labyrinth of Crete. It fed on young Athenian scent as sacrifices. Theseus, the Athenian hero, managed to enter the labyrinth and kill the Minotaur with the help of Ariadne's thread. The myth of the Minotaur is one of the most fascinating and terrifying stories in Greek mythology. He was the son of Pasiphae, the wife of King Minos of Crete, and a white bull sent by the god Poseidon. The unnatural union between Pasiphae and the bull was a punishment from Poseidon for Minos' disobedience. The Labyrinth of Crete. The Minotaur, a monstrous and hungry creature, was locked in a labyrinth built by the skilled craftsman Daedalus. The labyrinth was intricate and complex, designed so that no one could escape. Every year, Athens had to send 7 young men and 7 maidens as sacrifices to the Minotaur. This tribute was a punishment imposed by Minos after a war with Athens. The youths were locked in the labyrinth, where the Minotaur hunted and devoured them. Theseus, the brave Athenian hero, volunteered to be part of the sacrifice to kill the Minotaur. Upon arriving in Crete, Princess Ariadne fell in love with him and gave him a magical thread. Theseus tied one end of the thread to the entrance of the labyrinth and ventured into the darkness. Following Ariadne's thread, Theseus reached the heart of the labyrinth, where he faced the monster. After a fierce battle, Theseus killed the Minotaur. Then, following Ariadne's thread, he managed to exit the labyrinth and return to Athens as a hero. Symbolism. The myth of the Minotaur represents the struggle between civilization and barbarism, good and evil. The labyrinth symbolizes the challenges and obstacles we must overcome in life. Ariadne's thread represents the help and guidance we can find along the way. The story of the Minotaur has been told and reinterpreted numerous times throughout history. Its image has appeared in art, literature, and film, becoming a symbol of the monstrous and the unknown. Chimera. The chimera was a hybrid creature with the head of a lion, the body of a goat, and the tail of a serpent. It breathed fire and was a threat to anyone who crossed its path. Bellerophon, riding the winged horse Pegasus, managed to kill the chimera by throwing a spear with molten lead at it. The chimera, whose name means monster or fabulous being, is a mythological creature that embodies the union of disparate and dangerous elements. It is depicted as a hybrid being composed of parts from different animals. Lion's head, imposing and fierce, a symbol of strength and dominance. Goat's body, agile and adaptable, representing the ability to survive in difficult terrains. Serpent's tail, venomous and treacherous, adding an element of danger and surprise. Ability. The chimera had the ability to spit fire from its mouth, making it a dangerous enemy. The chimera terrorized the region of Lycia in Asia Minor, devastating fields and attacking the inhabitants. King Iobates of Lycia tasked the hero Bellerophon with killing the chimera, hoping he would die in the attempt. Bellerophon, mounted on Pegasus, the winged horse, faced the chimera. Using his wits, Bellerophon devised a strategy to defeat the beast. He pierced a spear with lead at its tip and, flying over the monster, thrust it into its mouth. The chimera's fire melted the lead, which solidified inside her, choking her and ending her life. Symbolism. The chimera symbolizes the union of opposing forces and the threat that can arise from the combination of incompatible elements. It also represents hidden dangers and the need to be cautious in the face of the unknown. The image of the chimera has endured over time, appearing in various works of art and literature. Its most well-known representation is the Etruscan sculpture, the Chimera of Arezzo, a bronze piece dating back to the 5th century BC. Harpies. The harpies were winged beings with the face of a woman and the body of a bird. In some versions of mythology, they are also described as messengers of the gods. The harpies, whose name means the ones who snatch or the ones who abduct, are mythological creatures from Greek tradition that embody the destructive force of nature and the darker aspects of the human psyche. These monsters are depicted as hybrid beings with the face of a woman and the body of a bird, with sharp claws and wings that allow them to fly at great speed. They are often described as repulsive and foul-smelling beings, with an appearance that instills fear and disgust. The harpies are known for their voracity and cruelty. Their main activity is stealing food from mortals, contaminating it with their stench and excrement. They are also believed to abduct the souls of the deceased to take them to Hades, the realm of the dead. Myths. In the legend of Phineus, a blind king who had the gift of prophecy, the harpies are sent by the gods to torment him. Whenever Phineus tried to eat, the harpies would appear to steal his food and contaminate it, preventing him from satisfying his hunger. The harpies and the Argonauts. In the tale of Jason and the Argonauts, the harpies play an important role. During their quest for the Golden Fleece, the Argonauts encounter Phineus, who asks for help to rid himself of the harpies. The heroes manage to scare away the harpies, allowing Phineus to eat in peace. Symbolism. The harpies symbolize the darker and more destructive aspects of human nature, such as greed, cruelty, and veracity. They also represent hidden dangers and uncontrollable forces that can disrupt the lives of mortals. The image of the harpies has endured over time, appearing in various works of art and literature. Their most common representation is that of winged beings with the face of a woman and the body of a bird, although there are also versions in which they are described as gigantic predatory birds. Cyclopes. The Cyclopes were one-eyed giants who lived in caves and raised sheep. Some of them were cannibals and did not hesitate to devour any humans who crossed their path. Odysseus had to confront Polyphemus, the most famous Cyclops, on his journey back to Ithaca. The Cyclopes, whose name means round eye, are mythical creatures from Greek tradition characterized by their large size and a single eye in the middle of their forehead. According to Hesiod's Theogony, the original Cyclopes were three: Brontes, Steropes, and Argesh, sons of Uranus, the sky, and Gaia, the earth. These monsters were powerful giants and skilled blacksmiths who forged Zeus's thunderbolts, the main weapon of the gods. The Cyclopes are depicted as monstrous giants, with superhuman strength and size. Their most distinctive feature is their single eye in the forehead, giving them an intimidating and fierce appearance. Most are described as wild and solitary beings, living isolated in caves and tending to sheep. The most famous Cyclops is Polyphemus, son of Poseidon and the nymph Thoosa. Polyphemus is the Cyclops that Odysseus faces in the Odyssey. On his journey back to Ithaca, Odysseus and his companions arrive at the island of the Cyclopes, where they encounter Polyphemus. He captures them and locks them in his cave, where he begins to devour Odysseus's men one by one. Odysseus cleverly gets Polyphemus drunk and then blinds him by driving a stake into his single eye. This way, Odysseus and his men manage to escape from the cave, hiding under the belly of Polyphemus's sheep. Symbolism. The Cyclopes symbolize brute strength and wild nature. Their isolation and lack of laws represent the absence of civilization and the threat that can arise from the unknown. The image of the Cyclopes has endured over time, appearing in various works of art and literature. Their most common representation is that of giants with a single eye in the forehead, although there are also versions where they're described as smaller and less monstrous beings. Sirens. The sirens were sea creatures with the body of a woman and the tail of a fish. Their song was so beautiful that it lured sailors to their doom. Odysseus, on his journey back to Ithaca, ordered his crew to plug their ears with wax, and he himself tied himself to the ship's mast to hear their song without falling into their trap. In Greek mythology, sirens are fascinating and dangerous sea creatures, often depicted with the body of a woman and the tail of a fish. Although in some ancient versions they had the body of a bird, sirens are famous for their irresistible song. Characteristics of the sirens. Traditionally, they are depicted with the body of a woman and the tail of a fish, although in antiquity they were also shown with the body of a bird and the face of a woman. Their song is of extraordinary beauty, capable of enchanting anyone who hears it. The sirens lure sailors with their song, leading them to destruction on reefs and rocks where their ships wreck. One of the most well-known episodes from Homer's Odyssey is Odysseus' encounter with the sirens. Knowing the danger of the sirens, Odysseus devised a plan to hear their song without falling into their trap. He ordered his crew to plug their ears with wax so they wouldn't hear the song, and he tied himself to the ship's mast, begging his men not to untie him no matter what happened. As they passed near the island of the sirens, Odysseus was able to hear their beautiful song, feeling an irresistible desire to jump into the sea and follow them. However, thanks to his bindings and his crew's deafness, he managed to resist the temptation and continue his journey. Symbolism. The sirens symbolize temptation, deception, and the dangers of being led astray by the senses. Their song represents beauty that can be dangerous and the need to maintain reason and will against passions. Legacy. The image of the sirens has evolved over time, becoming symbols of femininity, beauty, and mystery. They have appeared in numerous works of art and literature, from antiquity to the present day. These are just some of the most terrifying creatures from Greek mythology. Which one did you find the most chilling? Leave us your opinion in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to Nightmares and Beyond for more horror and mystery content. Until the next nightmare.